Hello, you're watching Calling All Stations, episode 6, I believe this is. It's just going to be a very quick update today because I want to share with you something I've been working on yesterday. So if you follow me down to the other end of the layout, you'll see I have put in an extension, and there it is running underneath my window still there. It's not very big, it's only an extra sort of 5 foot in length, and that straight section there is only 4 foot itself. And you'll notice it's not very deep either. It's only about 6 inches deep from the back of the wall there to the front. It doesn't run the whole length of the windowsill. I do need some space down there for stuff to store, so I didn't want to take up the whole room, and that's another reason why it's quite shallow. I didn't want it to encroach too much into the room. That's going to pose a bit of a challenge, and I'll get onto that later. But a little bit more about it. So you'll remember that trains can leave Woodford Wells on any of the 3 platforms, and if I get down here, you can see that the line running off to the left basically went into the 2 storage sidings, and I could swap over rolling stock, and it's like trains are leaving, going off into the main line, and then they can be swapped around. I can take them off here or whatever, but it basically looks like I'm not just using the same pieces of rolling stock over and over again. Now what happens is if we follow that line closest to the wall, that now breaks out from the original layout. Don't forget here, this wall behind the TMD shed used to just continue to the back there. I've broken that out. We do a 90-degree turn on a second radius curve, and then we've got some space for a scenic area possibly. This part here will be hidden from view eventually. I don't quite like, and this was a reason why I built my new layout in the first place, I don't really like trains doing 90 degrees or 180 degrees, and it just doesn't look quite realistic to me. So this part will be hidden to kind of hide the tight turn that trains will be doing, and then maybe here there will be a tunnel portal. A little bit of kerf is okay. I'm going to go and get some flexi track later on and sort all this out. This S-bend won't really be here. It'll be a nice smooth transition. And the trains come out the tunnel, and then there will be something here. Now on that note, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with the space yet. One option is to leave it like this, to leave it unaltered completely, and just to have a little space to be able to take trains off the track, swap them over. That will give me even more operational interest. At the moment what I do is I load a few pieces of rolling stock onto the layout, and then I'll use them for a couple of weeks, and then I'll swap them over with something else. I don't tend to mid-session swap trains over from the fiddleyard, from the storage sidings. That's purely just because this is a little difficult to access. So that's one option. It would give me the opportunity to change trains mid-session quite easily, then there's a nice amount of space to do that. And the other option is, of course, to do something scenically. And as I said, there would be some kind of scenic break here. This would all be hidden, and then something on that very shallow section there, and it would be a challenge. It would be a really big challenge. But I was reading an article in Hornby magazine this month of a chap who's not done something too dissimilar to me, in the sense that he's got a really long layout, but it's not very deep. I mean, my layout's only a foot deep, as we know, as it is, and there's still quite a lot going on in it. But his layout, there was a space in his layout, it was only 5 inches deep, and he still had lots of operational interest and lots of scenic interest in his layout. So it can be done. It's going to be difficult. There's not a lot of space, but I'm quite looking forward to the challenge if I do choose to do something scenic. On that note, what have I thought about so far? I mean, I was talking about this on Twitter yesterday, of potential ideas. I was thinking Croxley Green, which is an old station in northwest London. It was closed in 2004, officially closed in 2004. It had been sort of long closed before that. It was one of those sort of unusual anomalies that it it didn't officially close until well after it physically closed. It had a bus service or something. It ran from Croxley Green, sort of a terminus station at the end of a branch line from Watford Junction. The intermediate stations were Watford West and Watford Stadium. Network South East when it closed, I think. I went there recently, actually. Some of it's still left. So there's some Network South East sort of furniture, lamps and stuff still there. There's no platform. There is track, and unusually there's still some of the third rail. It doesn't go anywhere. It just sort of ends at a bridge. Or a non-existent bridge, rather. That was the reason it was closed. If you know the story, the bridge was replaced for road widening, and then they never rebuilt the bridge, and then the station officially closed many years later. That part of the world's all going to be redone for the Metropolitan Line Croxley Rail link. So that may disappear, that little area. So maybe Croxley Green is a little homage to an unusual terminus station, because it was a very unusual terminus station. In the end, it just had a little temporary platform, and it was just served by trains, shuttle service to Watford Junction. I think some trains made their way round to Liverpool Street or Broad Street. The system was third rail, I think. I even had, from some pictures, even had fourth rail, so whether that was intended for underground trains, but more likely rolling stock in the earlier part of the 20th century. But that's one way to go, Croxley Green. I mentioned the Metropolitan Line there, so another option would be to do an underground station scheme, obviously above ground underground station, a terminus of a short branch line, so something like Chesham or Mill Hill East perhaps. I am quite desperate to purchase the Bachmann S stock, being a huge London Underground geek and fan, and I've not been able to thus far because, as you know, my system is a third rail system, and well, I could put in fourth rail, that wouldn't be a problem at all, but the main reason, of course, is this layout. Woodford Wells is set in the 1980s, the early 1990s at best, and I've found it very difficult to therefore justify purchasing a modern rolling stock like the S stock to run on Woodford Wells. However, with this new extension, there is nothing to say that I can't have sort of two layouts in one. So if I had a scenic break there, trains coming out of a tunnel, this could almost be one completely different era, location even. I mean, I could even do something like steam, and then the storage sidings would be shared by both Woodford Wells and whatever this is going to be, so the trains from here don't necessarily have to run all the way around to Woodford Wells. That's an option, and that would therefore give me sort of a reason to build an underground station, to build something more modern, and then I could finally get hold of the Bachmann S stock, which I have been rather desperate to get and to add to my collection. So that's an option, doing something completely different, doing a completely different era, a completely different region. Like I said, I could do something in steam. That's probably lower down the list of preferences. At the moment, I want to keep the kind of track plans simple. I mean, I could have steam in an auto coach, but for most of the ideas I've had for steam, you'd have to have some kind of runaround loop, probably. At the moment, I'm thinking I might not have any point work at all. It might just be literally a line that just runs into nothing, a station, perhaps a yard. I'm less sort of enthusiastic about that. I mean, there's not a lot of space down here in the room to do wiring, so I don't want to make it too complicated, and actually I want to keep it fairly cheap as well. All this would cost me about 25 quid from my local hardware shop, and credit to them, they're fantastic. Local hardware shop in South Woodford called Jack's Hardware Supplies, I think, and they're far better than B&Q. If you live in the area, go see them for all your kind of hardware needs, but definitely sort of things like timber. They'll cut stuff up for you, made to measure stuff, and it's dead cheap. I mean, I was looking at just getting a big sheet of material from Wix or B&Q, and it costs about 25 quid just to get the sheet of material. and let alone cut it and do all that kind of stuff. And for the same price from my local hardware shop, I got it all pre-cut, and it was just a case of nailing it all together. So dead simple. So on that note as well, I do want to keep the track plan simple. I don't want to do too much in the way of complex point work and all that. So that's sort of why Steam Era is perhaps lower down my preference list, just because I think it would need some kind of runaround loop. And the other thing is there's not a lot of space for additional track work. So that's where I am with that. I'm off to get some FlexiTrack today to sort out this this sort of curve area here. I'm probably not going to do too much more on it at the moment. As I said, I want to kind of think about it for a while, think about if I want to do a scenic area at all, and if I do, what kind of area or region. Some people have been commenting on Twitter about this. I've been talking about the Croxley Green idea. Do let me know in the comment section below what you kind of think I should do with this. Should I have two completely separate layouts? I have Woodford Wells as the main one, and then them both sharing this storage area here, and then I can alternate between trains on Woodford Wells using the storage area and then trains on whatever this is going to be, so that I can do something completely different. I can do a completely different area or a different region. Let me know if you like that idea, or whether no, I should stick with the 1980s, the 1990s, and able to run trains from Woodford Wells round to whatever this is going to be, whether it's a station, whether it's sort of a yard of some sort. There's probably not enough space to do loco hauled stock, so that class 50 in the station is probably not enough space for it and its 3 coaches to comfortably sit in this new area and not look completely oversized and out of space. That's not to say I couldn't make it work, but I think about the maximum is 3 coaches. So something like the EMU there, the class 416 and the 419 motor luggage brake van, that would be perfect. And I think whatever it's going to be something that caters for EMUs, DMUs. That's where I'm going with it at the moment. That's sort of, I'm leaning towards the Croxley Green idea. I'm leaning towards doing an underground station that would share the scenic, share the fiddle yard area, the storage sidings. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, on the underground idea, I could do something like making the underground station generic enough that I could run some of my Woodford Wells 1980s stock round there. I mean, that could be one take on it. There are areas in London where tube trains and national rail trains, or British rail trains as it would have been, share the same tracks. You've got the Watford Junction, Willesden Junction area on the Bakerloo line that shares its tracks, which would have been at the time stuff like this in the 1980s. So that's a sort of realistic option. I mean, I have done in the past, I have sort of broken some of the rules, and as you'll know, some people on Twitter, I do have a class 350, which is completely the wrong era, but I've added in some Network Southeast branding. That's sort of, I had to buy that because it was so cheap on e-Hattons and everyone was raving about it, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to break some of the rules. I'm going to get something that's the wrong era for my layout, and I'm going to kind of adapt it. And I put some Network Southeast transfers on it, and it was sort of a thing that, hey, this is what could have been if Network Southeast continues past the 90s, and it's kind of almost like BR Blue Grey, kind of, maybe it was a revival. So I have broken some of the rules already, so with reference to the underground idea and the S-Stock idea. Who knows? Let me know what you think, comment below, and I'm off to get some track today, so yeah, let me know what you think of the new extension, guys. We'll see you soon.